Hello, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I have one attendee just said they have a blank screen with no sound. They're still having issues, if you can hear me or not. Give us an update if you see anything now. But otherwise, again, hello, everyone. This is D Space with our little webinary series that we're doing since we are closed along with many other businesses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. If you have questions about when we're opening again, we'll let you know on social media. Now today we're doing a little bit with animation in Photoshop. And I am Ruth. I am Community Learning Specialist at DoSpace. I mainly lead teen programs and older elementary school kids programs. And one of my hobbies and interests are parrots and video games. If you want to talk about that, I'm game. You can chat about all that kind of stuff, or more stuff about DoSpace if you're curious about some things going on with DoSpace. Now, earlier today, we had like a little webinar with another person of DoSpace named Allie on how to get started drawing digitally. You guys saw that earlier. You might have already saw the tools that are needed for this, but this is a little bit of extension of that. You do not need a tablet to do animation in Photoshop, but if you're looking to tablets, this one right here is the Wacom Intuos. It was like, when I got it, was like $40. Pretty cheap. I think it's also a little older. They got a little more expensive tablets, but the one I have is like the affordable student kind. I also have a Surface Pro, which I prefer drawing on screen. But if you did not see that webinar, you can definitely check out our Facebook page and like scroll up to the video before this one on how to get started drawing digitally. Now, requirements for this, if you have Photoshop open, that's great. You can follow along or you don't have to follow along, but requirements of this is definitely Photoshop because a lot of things I'm teaching on here are unique to Photoshop. If you're looking into getting the animation overall, there is Adobe Animate 2, which also animates completely different than Photoshop does. And there are good alternatives that are free, like OpenTunes. It's like really good program that's used in the industry, but it's not easy to use. It's not user friendly. So you can try that or get a trial with Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator. And I just got a note saying sound is too low. I want to confirm with my moderator, am I super quiet or am I all right sounding? Yeah, because it could be us or it could be, okay, might be individually a phone. Also, I am quieter in general. If they're listening to someone else who was louder than me, that could be an issue too. Maybe I can put my mic closer to here. Hopefully that helps out. Okay. So to get started here, I'm going to go over first with Photoshop tools, and then we'll start animating, because if you've never touched Photoshop before or a program like it, can get a little confusing. I have here, I have to start a new share here, so it's going to stop sharing for a little bit. And then share that. Here you go. So this is Photoshop right here. And of course, every time I start a new share, it closes all my Zoom stuff. There we go. So here's a little example. I kind of did a little animation of a bird blinking. Here we go. And I'll show you it right now. So I'm just doing a very quick animation on just very simple things like blinking or little sparkles are really easy to do. Here we go. Now I can play this. Yep, and it's just a simple blink and little lines coming out there. And it's got little wiggles through the lines on the purpose effect right there. But animation here can get very complex. And we're using a tool at the bottom of the screen here called the timeline. guys might have never touched this before, but if you use Adobe Premiere, you might recognize this right here, or After Effects. So what we're going to be going over today is simple animation, like drawing frame per frame and getting things to move. I'm not going to be going over walk animation stuff, just, very intro basic stuff. So if you are following along, I'm just going to open a new file here. Of course, it's going to give me default, but if you're going for film and video tabs, I highly recommend not starting film and video, except for these examples are really good, but you'll see things like HDTV and DVC Pro. A lot of these have different pixel sizes. Some of them will have like rectangle size pixels, but the HDTV right over here has square pixels, so it's okay to start with that one right here if you want to start there. Or you can start with your own size here. So all I did was went to File, New, and went over here, clicked on Film and Video. And this middle box right here is just all these presets of different sizes you can choose with. It is in, that's the one I was looking for. That's not the one I'm using, but I used it before. NTSC has rectangle size pixels. I might be mixed up with another name. Someone's watching me who knows these a lot better. I'm sorry, but I remember earlier accidentally using rectangle pixels. So it's best to start with HDTV basic right over here under film and video. Just want to stick to that. Or of course you can just do, custom right over here. I could just stick with 1,000 grid at 300 PPI, except for I might bring it down to 72 if you're on a computer without a really strong processor. I would change resolution to a much smaller number, like 72. One of the standards right there. Okay, so if you go ahead, you can go ahead, go to new, click. I know I showed film video earlier. That's just me showing you that there's other presets you can choose from, but I'm just going to start with 1,000 by 1,000 grid. Just make everything very simple. And then on the right here, there's preset details. This is the same for any other file, Photoshop or other Illustrator or other Adobe program open. There's always this new document window that shows up. Try to get you to buy stock. And it's got the same presets right over here. Get started. So I can just type right over here, maybe something like my first animation. Going to keep it 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. I'm probably going to change the size with a crop tool. And then the resolution's 300. It's these days, you want to keep resolution 300. Like a few years ago, there was like a whole thing where you have it 72 for print, 300 on computer. Because the reason why people pushed for 72 because a lot of computers couldn't handle higher resolution, but these days computers can easily handle 300 resolution. In fact, there's like a lot of artists that are drawing in 600 plus on the resolution, and that's when your computer will slow down, but having default 300 these days is nice. And you can see at the bottom right here for checking your pixel aspect ratio, you can see right here for square pixels. If you guys have done some Photoshop before, probably never really looked at that before. A lot of like cinema theater screens have rectangle pixels instead of square pixels. So now we started including this down over here. It's something very important for film video, but when it comes to like 2D, like standstill image stuff, don't really have to care about that. Default's square for that. It's just we have all these different options here. And you can see, yes, you got NTCS 1.21 square pixels. So it's just a slightly wider square there. Okay, you're all done with our settings right over here. You'll notice at the bottom right here, it says create. And click right there. And there is a nice square right there. Now I'm going to start with I don't have a default workspace. So, oh no, I am on the default, never mind. If you don't understand what I was saying there, I'm just making sure I have the same type of preview as everyone else, except for this thing, the bottom will not be showing. But right over here at the left side is your toolbar. And someone just came in, hello, Sarah, and they're saying, I hope I didn't miss too much. No, all I did so far was show the example of what we're doing. and open up Photoshop over here, open a new file, made a 1000 by 1000 pixel size image right over here at 300 resolution. You can follow along if you want. If you already have Photoshop open, if you don't have it installed, it's better to watch than try to get Photoshop installed. It takes a bit. I forgot also to mention, if you don't have Photoshop, if you've never used it before, you can totally download trial of Photoshop and try this animation out. Again, earlier there was a webinar about starting how to create digital art. They went over a bunch of different programs you can use and alternatives that are really, really good for this. Unfortunately, those other ones don't have animation, except for, I know Procreate just started adding animation. Now again, once it's starting over here, we have this little menu on the left. It is your toolbar right over here. And this is where a lot of that stuff you can use to start drawing, like editing things, or I can like move things around, except for I can't with that one. I can like change the size of my canvas if I want. So every time you need like, I want to edit something directly on my screen in the middle here, you want to go to the toolbar on the left, like I'm changing something in here. Like that's very precise and such. There's other things that like filters and such to change different things of overall, but a lot of editing tools for very specific things are on the left side here. And at the top, you got more menus. At the very top is like your basic menu stuff where you can find everything. So if you can't find it down over here, you have to go through these menus up here to find it and open it. Like for example, the timeline at the bottom. But if you need to save, you always can go up to File and Save. Or if you need to undo something, redo something, you can go up to Edit, Undo, and Redo. And if you want to learn how to use the hotkeys are just a combination of keys to do a shortcut for you, like Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. You can always go up to this menu up here with File, Edit, and such, and they'll have like the keys to do it on the right side over here. If you're really going to get into art programs or creation programs, you want to work faster, these key combinations here are really, really good to learn. And we do have other menus in here. If like a lot of these aren't really used for the animation we'll be doing today, except for one. And I wanted to point out at this thing called window right here. Window is just, you know, a little menu to help you find other windows to open. And in here, this little, like if you just saw what I closed, I'm just showing an example there. All the way at the bottom, it is alphabetical order, but near the bottom, there is a menu called Timeline. Timeline is used for animation and video editing, and it's like it's also used for like adding sound if you want to add sound. By default, when you open Photoshop, Timeline is not open. So you always have to go up to Window and open Timeline, but once you have it open, it doesn't close until you close it. So every time you open Photoshop, it will be there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Timeline. And there we go. And if you need to resize something in Photoshop, like not the actual image itself, but one of the menus on the side here, a lot of times there'll be like arrows on top by like that little set of tools. And you can click on it to widen it and stuff, or you can go like on the edge of that window right there. It will turn your cursor into like a double arrow sign, and that means you can like left click and hold and make it bigger and smaller. Here we go. And right here you got a little option that says create timeline. And I'm gonna go ahead, click create timeline, video timeline, and I get this little menu here. But real quick, I'm gonna go over to my layers right over here, or history, better yet. Nope, layers. Because I want to start with a blank slate right here. And I'm just gonna create a new layer and delete this one. So layers right over here are very helpful for creating like multiple stacks of papers to help you edit different things at the same time without worrying something on the other thing. So picture layers as multiple stacks of paper that are partially very see-through, and you can stack things on top of each other. And if you're wondering where layers are, it's like this little 2 squares on top of each other, and it says layers next to it. If it's like smaller, just the icon wise, it's just 2 squares stacked on each other. The first layer usually has a white background on it, but you can always change that in settings. And if you hover over these buttons down here or other places, Photoshop will like give you a little subtext of what it is. So at the bottom of this window right here, there's like create new layer, trash can, folder, effects. But what I did to create this layer right here is I clicked this little plus sign right here. Let me see if I can annotate it. There it is. That little plus right there. And when I clicked on it, made a new layer. And then right next to it is the trash can, the delete layer. So I did a little drawing over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that and delete. Yes, clear. And then I'm grabbing the bucket tool. Same thing on the left side over here. If you hover over, it actually gives you a little video on the tools of how it works. So if you're like using this for the first time, like it's really nice that they have like little mini tutorials in their program, but it gets annoying if you know how to use Photoshop already and you're like, I need this to go away. You have to go through preferences and turn it off. It's the whole thing. But I'm gonna grab the paint bucket tool right here so I can have a white background again, because when I create a new layer, it's transparent. And I can use by default. So now we're gonna go into animation here. We'll get something started for animation. So there's multiple ways to create animations in Photoshop. I can do a layer by layer option where like this has like, oops, our first layer. Let me create another layer. Has like a squiggly line over here. And then my second layer continues that squiggly line over here. So if you think about frame by frame animation, back in the day like Disney did for creating Snow White and such, they had like little flip books, well giant flip books of like sheets of paper. While they flip it, it'll play animation. So we kind of have that thing going on over here where we have like different layers of doing different things, and as we arrange the timeline of showing these different layers, things happen. So right in the timeline in here, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's the name of our layers in here. So timeline first takes each layer and makes it as a separate line in there to use, and then it has the time according to frames right above that. Again, I wish I could zoom in here, but I can't. Unless I do Windows Plus, and it actually does not work through Zoom. But right over, like you can see my little red highlighter, there's like a 1 column 00F, so that's 1 second frame according to the frame rate, and 5 seconds according to the frame rate speed. And you see that this purple long box in here is extended through the time. So this whole thing right here takes 5 seconds to get through. And of course there's left right here, you'll see the play button. You can recognize that. So they hit the play button and you see this red line going through. I forgot what that is called exactly. I think it's the picker. I feel bad that I don't remember what it's called, but it lets you scrub through your time. So if I have a bunch of different layers, layered throughout here, I'll show you soon. It lets me like scrub through to see what each thing is, and it displays it right up here on my image. And then right back next to that is settings. And there's like little scissors to cut layers. And there's transition if you want to like a weird fade in and fade out. I'll be going over these a little bit more in detail. And then at the end of these lines right here, there's like a little plus button. When you click on that, that lets you upload files to that line right there, layer in our case. So I can add something to layer it there, or I can just go file and place if I want to do it that way. And I can actually stack the order of these. So just like move it over here. So I'm gonna just change my color real quick. Put a little red dot on here. And actually, wait, undo. So I just did Control Z to undo if you guys were wondering, but I'm just showing an example here. There we go. So I'm putting a little red dot right here. And right now it's behind that line. And if I drag this layer up, move it over that side, that red line is above the other layer, side by side technically. But there is that. So this order right over here can change based off those various things. So I can put that down right over there, changes the order over there, where the red is behind the white now and you can't see it. But you can also just do that through layers right over here under the layer menu. And then at the bottom of the timeline here, there is like this little 30, like you'll see there's time of like how much time your red line is at, like your current set is at. And then you got how fast the animation's running, so 30 frames per second. So that's just 3 papers like flipping through per second. And then we got like a small mountain and a big mountain slider. That is just zooming in, zooming out on the timeline here. And as I widen it, you'll see that now it gives me much smaller numbers for each frame. So that's 12F is 12th frame in there. And for me to scroll through, I have to like grab this red line right here, the picker, and drag all the way left over here to move it over where, drag it all the way to the right to move it over that way, back and forth. Or you can just use the scroll bar at the bottom right over here to like extend it out, scroll through it to see everything in there. And of course, you can see we start at 0, then 1F for 1 frame, and so on. And then right over here is just changing. It changed to a thing called, what's it called? I think it's frame by frame animation. You can click undo. That is another way of doing animating in Photoshop is frame animation, separate from timeline. And this button right here, I'm trying to remember that up. It's render. That's how you render your video quickly. To click that little arrow right there. It looks like the redo button, but no, it's render video. And I'm like, no, that's not the redo button. And the next thing I want to point out in the timeline right here is if you look at towards the top, there's a hamburger icon. The hamburger, like the 3 lines stacked on top of each other, is officially called the hamburger icon. So you can click on that and you get even more settings for the timeline. There's loop playback to make it loop forever. Show different things, want to show different things. Panel options, render video again. Set timeline frame rate, want to slow it down. Delete timeline, want to get rid of it. Change your work area. Move and trim. Split playhead's a little extra thing, adding comments. If you want to add some little comments for other people who are working on it. So you can say, hey, I stopped here, or hey, I'm still working on this. And right over there. Okay. And last thing I want to show you before we start making something here is back to convert frame animation. So you can either click on that little 3 square button on the lower left or go through the hamburger icon to change to frame animation. But basically, let me see if I can make this bigger here because that is really tiny. Oh, and I brought it out. Nope, it won't let me make it taller. I just popped the window out. So you see there's a square right there. Frame, this frame animation right here is the older way of how they used to do animation in Photoshop before they came out with the timeline. Basically, when it's like a much easier visual way to tell what's going on in animation, but you can't edit it as much. This is more true to frame by frame animation, where you have all these different papers and you're drawing in each thing and changing something over time. And if I click on the plus right here, it created an extra frame. But if I look over here, it did not create another layer. So a frame is different from a layer in frame animations. And I'm just going to change my color over here. So I'm on the second frame right here. It's highlighted by a lighter color. And I'm drawing this little blue squiggly line there. And it looks like it made changes on both right here. Because these little frames right here are just snapshots of our current layers. And what it's going on is going to change the settings right here. So on this first frame right here, I have this thing like little eyes open on all these layers right over here. And if you click on it, that's how you turn off an eye on and off. This is what I'm going to do to change animation. But with frame animation, you still have to create like a bunch of different layers and do different things on each of those layers, picturing those as different pieces of paper, change animation over time. So this first one here, I'm actually going to make it blank. And you see right in that box right there is blank. And then I'll go to the next one, turn on the eye on one. And it's hard to see in the preview right there, but you see the squiggly line, the red dot right there. And that's only on the second frame right there. And then I click the plus, it adds another frame. And bringing the eye in there, now extends a little bit. And at the bottom right here, there's forever, for looping forever, play, do other things. There's other settings in here, but we're going to be focused on the other timeline version. But just showing you frame animation here. So now if I play, oops, you're supposed to loop forever. Oh, it's 5 seconds, that's why. So I'm just going to change this time a little bit. There we go. So now play, it plays each frame 1 second at a time here, running through the animation. Yep. And if I want to convert back to the other kind, I can click that box on the corner right there again. But that's just another version of animation. And I personally feel like it's more harder to use, but you can always try it out yourself, use whatever's comfortable for you. Everyone has a different style of animating and such. Now we're going to get started here. So I'm just deleting the extra layers in there. So there's a thing in Photoshop called video layer, and it's different from this layer right here. So I'm going to be making a video layer. And how to make a video layer is, I know there's some setting over here in the layers you can do that, but I'm actually going to go all the way to the top right here and click layer. And I'm going down, and like right in the middle there, there's the thing that says video layers right there. If you want to take like a video you recorded, you can actually import it in as a video layer so you can play through it instead of it being like just an image. But you can do that like video layers and do new video layer from file and insert a video. But right over here in video layers, I'm going to go to new blank video layer, clicking on that. And then right at the bottom right here, I have this blue line extending out right over here. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Looks like we have 3 frames per second. Photoshop has a very unintuitive way for changing the time of your animation here, but you have to have like a regular layer and extend it out by clicking on the right side of a layer, not a video layer. So it won't let me do that with a video layer. I have to do that with a regular layer. And on the right side, there's like this little arrow, double arrow / line going through it. And I left click on it, then it lets me extend it. If I hold it down, it shows me the duration of how long it is. So I'm just going to bring it up to exactly 5 seconds. And then I can extend my video. Nope, it won't let me. Boop, boop. Trying to remember where the setting is to, I guess I'll delete that. There is a setting to change the time on that individual layer. Here we go. Now it's 5 seconds, but Premiere has a much better way of extending that. Like this tool's from Premiere, no, After Effects, I believe, and there's still some stuff in there that they kind of pushed into Photoshop and they forgot some extra buttons from After Effects to include in. So that part's not intuitive. There is a button right here that says change timeline, like time, frame rate. Frame rate is something completely different than actual time here. Frame rate is just how fast the pictures are moving through your time. So as you saw earlier with this, right over here, if you look at the bottom, this is actually 10 frames per second. So it's moving a lot, like it's changing the image a lot slower than the average time you see with animations in movies. Animations are usually recorded in 30 frames per second. Movies sometimes are, but sometimes they're also recorded in 60 frames per second. And that's just the, like, picture there's 30 drawings showing through per second, 60 drawings per second. Animation can get very tedious. So now I'm gonna start with drawing over here. So if you look at the left side right over here, now I'm using my tablet, right over here, there is a paintbrush, and I'm gonna switch it right to black. And if you're wondering how to change the color, I just double tap on these swatches right here to change the color, or you can go to the color window, change color through right over here, or swatch window, and you can choose like a color palette. So now I'm right over there. And I forgot to talk about this bar right here that's right below the file bar. The one right here, this is usually the settings bar for each of these tools. So they have like their own separate like settings up there. So under the paintbrush right over here, I'm gonna change this softness of the brush by clicking this little arrow down. This brush, like little thing right here, just shows the type of brush I'm using. And Photoshop recently included these like Kyle's brushes, but I'm just gonna stick with the standards right here. There we go. And specifically with my tablet, you don't have a tablet, this won't work with a mouse. The brushes will still work, but there's this little thing right here where if I press lightly, it starts off thin, and if I press hard, it gets thicker. That's something specific to tablets. And again, you can look up Wacom Intuos. I bought an older version for $40. I think their like recent budget ones are $80. You can also look at different brands and such, but again, that was from an early webinar that you guys can look at. But the main reason why we have those tools is because of pressure, which mimics real life drawing a lot better. So if I press down, it makes it thicker, and if I press lightly, it makes it thin. And there's also the same with, oh, that's the airbrush. Opacity with making it light to dark. So I'm pushing really lightly on my tablet, and now I'm pressing really dark. So whenever we open again, you can actually check out tablets with us and use it within our space that have this pressure function right here. I can press down and press lightly to make it thin and thick. Now back to animation here. So all I did was pick a standard hard brush, and you can also change the hardness, softness right up here, and you can change the size right under size slider right there. And if you do have a tablet, there's these buttons up here. Like there's this one pencil with like multiple circles around it. That is the size change. I think size jitter is what they call it, where it changes size based off pen pressure. And this one right here next to opacity is the change of light to dark. And there's this little thing in Photoshop called smoothing, which makes your lines a lot smoother. There we go. In earlier days, you had to like learn how to keep your hands still in drawing, but now we have this little stabilizer that helps us. It's really nice. Now starting animation. So I'm gonna start with squiggly lines here. So right here, I'm just gonna make a squiggly line right here. And back to my timeline, I am zooming in a lot so I can see a little better, so I can see between my frames. So if I go over one spot in my frame by selecting this red pick, you see that my line goes away. And if I scrub back, my line's there, because at the start, for one frame, it's just that one line right there. Now, sometimes you wish you had an ability, like I can go over here, but I can't see where my line is exactly, so if I want to extend it, I will be horribly off unless I like flip back and forth like this to see where it was. Or you think sometimes, man, I really wish I can see through this to my previous drawing right here. There's a thing called in Photoshop called onion skinning, This exists in a lot of animation programs. It's called onion skinning across multiple programs. Maybe some of them might be something else. I know Procreate's called onion skinning, but this little hamburger icon right here, define onion skinning. It lets you see through paper, like through the layers, but still have it there so you can draw by it. So this hamburger icon right here, if I select it, there's this option right here that says enable onion skins. And there's also onion skin settings. So right here, I went to the hamburger icon and timeline and enable onion skins. So I select that. And if I go over a layer, you'll see that this right here turns lighter. If I go over another, it only lets me go over one frame of time, but you can see right there, it's really hard to tell. I'm gonna zoom in here. There's the zoom icon, like a little magnifying glass icon right there for you to zoom in. I just hit Z to zoom in for my hotkey. But if I switch between these two spots right here, you can see that it gets lighter. So this lighter part right here actually is not on 0, 1 frame down here. It exists on 0, 0. Sorry, excuse me. But it's just there, so it makes it easier for me to continue my line there. And I move on over, you see that this turns lighter. This is not on this layer, but it's there. It's the one before, and it's just there for me to reference that previous spot that I left that, and I can draw a line right there. And if you want to change like your onion skinning settings where you can see more than just within 1 frame, like if I extend out this way, I don't see it anymore. So back on the hamburger icon, right on the timeline, if I click on that, I can go to onion skin settings. So that's right in there, kind of 1, 2 below under enable onion skins. If I click on that, I can change the number, how many frames before do I see my previous image. I'm gonna do 2. And you can see right there it changed where I can see the previous one before the one I'm at. And then I can also do 2 ahead. Oh, gotta close that. I don't know how that popped up. And I can change to 2 ahead, but for right now, I only care about 1 ahead. And I could change the opacity and frame spacing. I could have it show 1 ahead, or I can have it show 10 ahead, or 13 ahead, if I wanted to. And I could make this more thick, like I can bring this at 100. Oh, it won't let me do 100. There we go. It makes it like a super, super black line for the previous thing, but I don't want that because I want to be able to tell what was before. And then we got minimum opacity, 25. So if you're like, the more you go away, the furthest away frame from the current thing would be lighter than the one after that or right before yours. And you can change the blend mode. If you're like working on a really dark background, you change the screen to make it light. I wouldn't do difference, but you can, or keep the multiply, which just makes it like a darker opacity. But if you need to change how many frames behind or in front you can see, you can do it right with onion skinning. Here we go. So I got this little line going that way, line going there. I'm hitting the Z key to zoom out. And up at the top, the menu, if you're trying to like, I also want to zoom out, you can click on the minus zoom at the top right there for the settings of your tool. Or I can just hold Alt down and zoom out. And I just hit B for brush. If you're wondering what the hotkey for these tools are, you can actually hover over it. Not only does it have a video there, but also in the description it has like in parentheses what key you can press to get that tool really quick. So I got a little line right there, and I'm just going to continue it. Not going to keep it perfect, but I'm just giving you guys the example of how you use onion skinning to make an animation. We'll swirl there. Bring this up. And there's always this fun thing with animation. I'll show you really, really soon. Where you're like, man, I drew so many pictures here. I'm gonna view it and it's gonna be like 20 minutes long and it's gonna be great. I'm gonna play this and this will be like half a second. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna play it. Since we're looking how to play your animation, it's like right on the left side right there again. You see this little play icon. I'm playing it. Oh, and it's gone. It's gone. It's also 5 seconds long. Oh man. So I'm gonna stop that there. There's the animation again. Come on, stop. There we go. So I'm gonna zoom out here at the bottom. And you see these little, like, right below the frame rate time, there's like these little clamps, I guess, is how I would describe them. This can show the preview of your time. So I can left click on that, drag it back over here, and if I press play now, it only plays that section of my layers. And if I render my video, it only render, well, you have to change your settings a little bit more, but you can remember right there what setting to have the video stop at right there. And the problem with onion skinning here, you probably already saw when I play it, it shows my onion skin preview layers. And you can see again, this is 1 second, 30 frames per second. And I'm like, man, I did a lot of drawings here. I made like 6 drawings. Picture yourself making something super detailed there. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of work. So animation can be very tedious. But there's a lot of tools animators use these days, you know, like copy and paste, so they don't have to do as much work and get their animations done faster. So luckily, these days, it's not as tedious. And now I'm going to show you how to change the frame rate of my timeline. Here we go. And if you're wondering how to get the red scrub back, you can just click right in the frame time right here to get it to show again. So I can go to the hamburger icon on the right side over here. And then I'm going to click on, where is it? Frame rate time. I can never find it. There it is. So right below onion skin settings, there's set frame rate time. And I'm just going to bring it back down to 10. When you first start an animation, most people should just start with 12 frames per second. So you can do 12. I'm just going to, maybe I can have it at 12. If I click right here, it gives me multiple options. I would start in a very low, between 10 and 12 when first starting out, so you don't have to draw as many frames. So there, now they play, and it cut out a few frames of mine, but that's okay. And now this is the part I was talking about with onion skinning. You gotta turn it off to view it better. Now if I hit play, of course it deleted a few frames in there, but you can see right there the animation a little bit better. So I started there. I'm gonna enable onion skinning again. And I'm just gonna finish this line out right here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing that soon right over here. So I got that right there. For those who are watching on Facebook or later on recording, someone asked, can you please show us how you created the cartoon link in the beginning? Yes, I'll be doing that soon. I'm just gonna finish this animation here, making it a little more smooth. There's that. And over there, right over there. And then I'm gonna turn off onion skin. It's gonna cut off halfway through, but that's okay. And there you go. Oop, pause. I'm bringing this up to the 5th frame, so it loops a little bit better. And there we go. Now we got like a little animation there started. That's how you can create animation. And now I am going to be showing how to make something blink. Here you go. So I am just going to delete. I could just go for each frame and just delete every single thing, but I'm just going to delete the video layer. Be a lot faster that way. So I'm going to start with the video layer again. I'm going to go up top of the screen, click layer, then click video layer, blank video layer. There we go. And you can move things around. I didn't really show this much because we're working videos layers, but you can actually stack layers. You can create multiple layers instead of doing a video layer and like stack them different ways so that different things show on top of each other. if you want to animate that one, there's so many different ways to use animation in Photoshop on how you want to work it. The way I'm doing is more perfect for direct drawing, because of onion skinning. Onion skinning does not work across layers. It has to be within the same layer. And that's why I'm doing video layers here. Okay, so I'm gonna start at the beginning. Make sure you're at the beginning of the timeline right here, or you got something way later on and you have to copy and paste it, like copy it from frame 3 and paste it to frame 0 to get it right. So I'm right at the beginning here. And I'm just gonna I'm not gonna spend too much time making it really nice looking. But so when you're thinking about animation, you want to think about changes over time. So I'm gonna keep it simple, very, very simple. I mean, I could draw a really detailed eye and make it blink slowly, but if you really want to get animations, I highly recommend looking up the 12 principles of animation. That is really good. Again, too, it goes into stretch, bounce, squash and stretch, like delayed movement, like anticipation and such. But when you first start animation, you just think about how something changes. So like thinking you draw a hand here, and then you draw a hand like this, and a hand like this, and you get like this motion going through. With the eye blink, it's kind of the same thing where you got like a big circle, and the next circle you got it a little smaller, and the next spot you got a little bit smaller, and the next spot you got a little bit smaller. So I'm just gonna draw a star here, just keep it sketchy. I'm gonna give it a happy face. And I'm gonna give it the squiggly effect too. Maybe I should draw a clear outline, but I'm just drawing a star. Keep it sketchy, and then maybe I could go through and draw a smoother line, or I can bump my smoothness up. And there we go. I'll do that. There you go. So there's the top of the star. I am a very big fan of smoothness. My hands shake a lot when drawing. So I'm very happy with smoothness to keep everything not squiggly looking here. And the thing with drawing animation, a lot of it is Control Z and Control V. I mean, Control Z to undo and Control Shift to Z, or Control Y to redo. And this is one silly looking star, but it's okay. There we go. There we go. Now I'm gonna add the eyes on here. So I'm starting with just looking. So I got like, oh, this is when I do want to turn smoothing down because it draws really slowly. And if you're wondering how I'm like changing the size of my brush really fast, on your keyboard, these bracket keys. The right bracket makes your brush bigger. The left bracket makes your brush smaller. Okay, so there's my first frame. And there's 10 frames per second. So I only need to change it over time for 10. So it's blank there. And I need to enable onion skin again. There we go. And then I can bring it over a spot. And to get that squiggly line effect that we saw earlier with the bird I drew, is instead of, I could just use the select tool and copy and paste it over here. But if I want that squiggly line effect, you just draw over the same line again, and it gets like a little variation changes. I'm just gonna keep it this way. I don't have enough time to be nicer than this, but oh well. Here we go. And then I'm not gonna start the blink yet. So I just drew an outline and at the same spot, drawing the eyes over it. So this is more frame by frame animation. If you're wondering about copy and pasting, there's this little select box tool right here. That's right next to navigation. And if I left click, hold it down, drag it out, I have this box right here, and I go Control C, and then I move over a frame and do Control V. I can paste it onto that frame. Oops. And you can have to do a paste in place to get the exact same spot. I Shift Control Y V. So Control Shift V, and it's in the same spot. Of course, I created a new layer right there. That's a way to, if you don't want to draw it over and over again, you can just do a copy and paste between the layers and erase what you want to change. Okay. So now I'm at frame 2. I'm just going to start doing this faster now. Right there. And it's not blinking yet. And frame 3. Oh, I drew on the wrong layer. That's a popular thing in Photoshop, drawing on the wrong layer. So now I do need to copy and paste it. Oh, it's gonna be white. Undo. There we go. Always pay attention what layer you're drawing on. I had layer 1 selected and not my video layer. If you want to know which one's your video layer is, it has like the little film icon on it. Yeah. It's such a big mood right there of drawing on the wrong layer. Bring the bracket keys up to make it larger for the eyes. And I'm actually kind of slowly making the eyes larger. So I'm just going to bring them down in size again. And I'm accidentally moving closer, so that would be better. And now I'm on frame 3, making sure I'm the same layer. And this is basically what the process of animation is, where you're like drawing over, same thing over, and making small changes over time, or really quick changes if it's like your characters are like running really fast between each other, or you want to do like a very springy bounce and you're actually skipping frames to get that effect. I'm going to highly recommend looking up the 12 principles of animation for all that extra stuff. There's way more to animation than drawing over and over again, making small changes. I mean, that's still essentially what it is, but there's some extra things you have to do to get some cool effects to get, like, make it feel much more snappy. Okay. Now I'm going to start the blink at frame 3. So now I'm at frame 3. I selected my eraser here. I'm going to make sure it's a hard brush. And I'm going to erase the top right here. I'm going to turn off an onion skin so you can see what I did. Right there. I just erased the top right there just to get that blink started. And enable onion skins. And I'm going to change my onion skinning setting where I only see one behind now. There we go. So it'll be easier when I move in the next frame. I can see where I left the eye at. And yep. All right. I didn't undo. A lot of line art is undoing. There we go. That one's a lot more different. And try to get the same size eye here. Oops. There we go. An eraser. There we go. You can see right there, the eye's blinking a little bit more than the layer before. Next layer. Not layer, sorry. Next frame. I'm not going through layers, I'm the same layer. Next frame. I gotta remember what language I'm using here so I don't confuse anyone. Here we go. And then the eyes again. And about here. Eraser. Maybe a little bit. No, I keep it like that. In the next frame, I'll have that completely closed eye, like I do in here. And I did add like a little bump down on that one. So if I go back in here, I think right there, keep that one straight. But if I go right here, I can make it a little bit more natural looking if I make it more of a curve than a straight line. Oops. Here we go. Now it's a little bit more of a curve. And I'm just using the Z tool to zoom in and zoom out. Next one. Now I'm back over in this layer. I'm gonna make it a little bit more curvy. Oh. And now I'm doing like my art face where I'm like, why is it like, there's this whole thing in the animation community where you're like making the same face as your character or the thing you're drawing to understand it a little bit better. Now I'm on that layer. Wow, it's making a really long leg there. There we go. And it's got the little sleepy eyes here. And then from here, I'm actually going to copy and paste the previous layers. So here, I'm going to turn off, no, I'm going to keep onion skinning on. I'm grabbing this, Control C, going over here, going to turn off my background layer, so paste on this one. Control Shift V to paste in place. Nope, it doesn't want to do that. There's a setting to do paste in that layer. Paste special. Nope. Yeah, I'll show you guys how to stack this. I'm gonna turn off onion skinning so it's a little bit easier to see. There we go. So I'm gonna move that over a frame. Grab that one. I'm gonna grab this one, Control V, creates another layer of it. And you notice how I'm like stacking it, it's like staircase wise. This is how you would do it. Did I paste it in place? And if something, oh, I know what's going on. Something's blocking it. I have to shrink the size of it. Oh, it looks like I copied the paste of the same one. So I got that one. That's the one I'm missing. Control C, and then paste in place. Looks like that one's a little off right there. And I grabbed the same one again. That's the one I want. Oh, it's because I was on the wrong layer. Again, make sure you know what layer you're working on. Okay. Now it's pasting on the video layer. Grab that one, right? Yep. And then I'm gonna grab this one here, Control C. Paste it there. So I got the little half open eyes there. Move it over one more. Control C. Control V. It's moving around a lot. And let's see, what's the last one I got? That one. So now I'm grabbing this one right here. Control Z. Control V. My star's moving around a lot. Is that the first one? Yeah. And then have the marquee tool, Control C, extending my frame over another, Control V. And then I'm gonna enable onion skin again. There's a tool called the selection tool. It is the very first tool right over here, or move tool in Photoshop, Selection in Illustrator. So if I go about right here is when the moving happens a lot. Oops. This one layer. Nope. I am going to lock that layer. There we go. I might have to do it this way. Okay. It is 7:30. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the animation now because it's 7:30. I can always go from the move tool and fix it, but there we go. Moves around a lot, but got a little star slowly blinking over time. Stop, pause, zoom in here for you guys, play, and there it is, blinking slowly. So I'm just slowly changing the eye, make it close and open again. Now, if you wonder how I did the lines right there, it's the same thing that lines I drew at the beginning. I just kind of drew them out and have them close. And there's that squiggling right there. Closing the eye, moving out slowly. It's off screen. Right there. And there you go. If you wonder how to save it, you just go File, Save to save your Photoshop file, and then Render to get started. I like to get it as a video, or you can even save it as a GIF. And I'm going to do a new share. Show your main screen here. So if you have made anything that's really, really cool, you can definitely show us that really cool project you did with, like, made you know, based on a webinar you watched with us, or something else we did in the space and you kind of made something, you know, along with that, or just something in general. You can show it to us with Facebook. So just go, you know, check out DSpace at DSpace Omaha on Facebook, and you can message us or post to us saying, here's a cool thing I made. Thank you for showing us. Or, hey, this is another cool project. Maybe you can do this other thing here. And I just saw your question, Denise. I'm going to answer that soon. But here, yeah, definitely check out our Facebook and talk to us there. And if you got any questions, you can email us at hello@dspace.org and email us there, like talk to us and like, hey, I need help with this, or do you know anything about this? And we can reply to you. Or you can go to dspace.org, click on the chat box on the bottom right corner, and ask questions there. For everyone else, thank you very much for coming in. If you got more questions, you can ask it right in chat. But thank you for everyone joining us today, and have a good night. Next thing I'm just going to do for a little bit is show how to make a photo talk. I need to quickly find a photo real quick. I am trying to think of a generic person. I can't think of a generic person right now. I am just going to go with George Washington. So this requires you to know a little bit more about Photoshop, of how to make a picture talk. And I don't know what style you're talking about, but I'm probably thinking about, those videos where they have like this mouth picture going like, that's maybe thinking is what you're talking about there. Hopefully, yeah, and I can definitely show how they do that. Here we go. Now I'm gonna go over back to Photoshop. There we go. And I'm gonna go over here, go into layers, and I am just I gotta open my files here. We'll have to learn how to place. We do have a webinar on the basics of Photoshop. I want to get into that for basics, but I'm just showing you the animation side here. I just downloaded a picture of George Washington, and I'm not doing anything political here. It's just it's just a generic picture I could think of that wasn't anyone particularly nowadays. And I just created a new layer, and I'm just dragging that photo in here. It's loading. There it is. And I'm actually gonna do that, bring it back in because the resolution came in weird. There we go. And just reading. Nope. Oh, right. I forgot that Photoshop changed the default of the transform tool. If you guys are wondering, I actually use Clip Studio more for art and animation than Photoshop. The reason why for that, luckily we're not sponsored by Adobe or anything, is that Adobe can get really expensive while Clip Studio is a one payment. And I didn't want to, so I'm like, I just want to buy something once. And I don't use it, I don't do a lot of photo editing. So more into drawing. So that's why I do Clip Studio Pro there, because I don't really need to edit a lot of photos with really big, crazy stuff there. Okay, so a picture, I just opened a picture here, got it. It's a little rendered right here, but a lot of the stuff I'm going to be doing here to animate this would be with the selection tool. And I'm just going to delete my other layers here. Oh, so this would be more towards photo editing than drawing. That's what I'm going to be doing here. So things first is when you enter your photo, you put a photo in here. It'll come in as a smart object and we'll let you edit it. So I have to right click on the photo that I added and try to remember it as, maybe it will let me do it. I'm probably thinking of, there we go. I can also do the smart, yeah, it needs to be rasterized. So right click on it, you can click rasterize. I couldn't find it for some strange reason. So I'm click OK and rasterize. There we go. And first thing I'm gonna do is actually gonna duplicate the layer. You'll see why. So if I want to get the mouth move, I'm gonna do the really cartoony way where it's a picture of the mouth moving up and down and not really smooth talking. It's just kind of like a puppet. So first thing I gotta do here, and probably should have grabbed a much higher resolution picture than this. This is not very high resolution. I'm gonna be selecting this mouth area right here and then copy it. So to do that, I'm just gonna grab the Lasso Tool. It's on the left side right here. If I hover over it, it shows you what it does. And I'm gonna zoom in here. Actually, I'm gonna use the Polygon Lasso Tool. the difference there, it lets me create points, it lets me rest. And I'm just kind of selecting the area around here. The sad part about the Polygon tool is that it's not as smooth as the lasso. There we go. So that area is selected. I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to put that in another layer. Paste. And if I grab the move tool right here, I can move it around. And the reason why I copied this layer, the photo layer earlier, is because I want to keep the first one original just in case. So now right here, I can like move it up and down like its mouth. And then right below here, I'm going to go back a layer. And I need to paint this whole area right here black. So what I need to do here is I'll grab the magic selection wand tool. It's on the left side here. I hit W to select that. Go back to this layer right here. Oh, Control D for unselect. I am gonna change my tolerance here so it selects all of it. And I'm doing that on the top. So I can get that whole area. There we go. Going back down a layer. Bringing this, oh, no, I don't want that. I want the selection. There we go. Oh, hello. Give me something underneath. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Oh, I know. It's because I'm not on the selection. You have to be on a selection tool to get it. And so the reason why I selected that earlier, so I can get that same space. And I'm bringing that up there. I'm going to paint that area black. Or I can just grab this color off the vest right there, paint it black. And I'm going to merge. I'm going to hit Control D to unselect, or you can go up to select and undo. And it's kind of edgy. Again, you can go Photoshop and make that a little more, like if you look at a Photoshop webinar, you can look at things to make things more smoother. And I wish I could have thought of a much more generic person. There we go. And then I'm gonna merge that down by right-click merge down. You don't have to, but there we go. Now I got a setup here. There we go. Oof. Went over a little. I'm gonna undo a little bit. Grab that, Control T, just for the transform tool. There we go. Nope. Make it smaller. Nope. That way. Bring this in this way. Just fixing little things here because on this layer was over. Yep. Just gonna grab the eraser here. Make it super soft. And I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. Because I'm just trying to smoothen the edges out a little. And hey, there it is. You know who I should have chosen? Nikola Tesla. That's the generic picture I should have thought of. Here. Probably shouldn't spend a lot of time, try to add things in there. And now merging down. There we go. So basically you want to cut out like a part of the mouth to get it start animating. And then for the animation part, you can do a lot of copy and pasting, or you can do little extra steps a little bit in it. And I'm going to show you this little extra tool here on the animation. So if you look at the timeline, you see layer 2 right down here, and it's got an arrow next to it. If I click on that, it gives me these clocks down here. If you've ever used After Effects, you probably will recognize this immediately. You'll see this thing called position right here. So I have this right here. If I click on position, it creates a key at that spot right there. And these are called like keyframes. It's usually used for moving things around. So instead of animating things by using a tablet or drawing, you can also animate things based on movement, opacity, scale, size, and stuff like that. So I'm at 1 frame right there, and if I move over 1, maybe if I move over to 5 right here, so I can move all the way down here, and then I can grab the move tool, and I move this down right here. Notice right there, it created a little diamond shape right there for keyframe. So now if I scrub back and forth right here, you'll see the mouth moving up and down. And I can actually move where the like little keyframes are, right? Like just directly clicking on it and dragging it back and forth for how soon it is. And I can also copy keyframes. So Control C and going to 4, Control V. Oh, nope, come on. Looks like I have to do it this way. I have to copy it directly by right clicking on it. And then, oh, come on. Let's see here. Copy. I'm at the spot right here. Insert keyframe. Nope. Come on, right there. It won't let me. So I'm just going to bring it up. There should be a thing called insert keyframe. Where is it? There, okay. Under hamburger tool, keyframes, paste. And it didn't paste it there. So I'm gonna grab that one right there, keyframe, copy under the hamburger icon. Now I'm right here, keyframe, paste. There we go. So it looks like I have to go inside there, and you see there, now it's opening, closing. And I'm gonna grab that keyframe. I wish there was a quick key for this, but it looks like I have to do this manually. Copy under the hamburger icon, move over 2 frames, go to hamburger icon, go to keyframes, paste. That'd be closed, open. So what I'm doing here is I'm every 2 frames it open and closes. Keyframe, paste there. And is that the closed one? Nope, that's the closed one. So when it highlights yellow, that's what it's selected. Keyframe, copy. And for me to place it, I have to move the red line right here to that spot where I want to paste it. And right over here, keyframe, paste. 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's right there. And keyframe, paste. So now I'm going to zoom out here. Come on. Oh, it's because I'm stuck in the timeline right there. Pose you. That is so weird. I can't zoom in and zoom out right now. But got a mouth open and closing right there. Now I'm going to press play. And there you go. Now you got an animation going in here. Sorry that took a little bit there. Sorry I missed your question a bit there. But yeah, that's like a little cartoony way. And it's a little pixelated right now because looks like, yeah, I'm a little zoomed in here, be smoother zoomed out. But yeah, that's how you can get a picture to talk, not more puppet style. There's definitely a lot more work to make it more smooth. This is just the way basically to get it started. Otherwise, thank you very much for everyone coming in and have a good night.